Welcome to English with Abby and Torai. I'm Abby, and welcome back to our English course called Level Up Your English. This course is mostly for intermediate level learners, which is around the level B1, and it is for you to take your English to the next level. But beginner level learners and advanced learners can also benefit from this course as well. Today, we will talk about how to read like a native. There are 4 main components when you are learning a language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And listening and speaking are probably what we tend to focus on the most, but reading and writing are also very important. If you are able to read in English and use our tips to read faster and read smarter, then your vocabulary in English will grow, your knowledge of English grammar will grow, and your overall skills in the English language will grow exponentially if you are able to read well. So today we will talk about how to read faster and smarter and read like a native English speaker. This is important for everyone. Honestly, this is also extremely important for native English speakers as well. I am a teacher. I taught kindergarten for a long time in the United States, and now I teach online. I teach students of all ages, and I mainly teach reading and writing. And all of these things that we are going to talk about are things I teach my students who are native English speakers. And so all of these things are important for all readers. So here are some of the things we will talk about today. The first one, what is the purpose? Skimming versus scanning. Skimming versus scanning. How to skim while reading versus scanning while reading. And then we'll talk about getting vocabulary from context, from the context of the sentence, understanding new vocabulary words. And then we'll talk about understanding tone and author's purpose for writing what they are writing. This will help you better understand their piece of writing. And then we'll talk about prediction while reading, making predictions while reading. And then finally, we'll talk about some ways to build the habit. And then at the end, we'll talk about a piece of writing, a paragraph that will be attached to the description. It will be in the PDF of the homework provided for you in the description. In that PDF, there is a paragraph you can read along with some comprehension questions. And so the goal is to read the paragraph in 1 to 3 minutes, read it very quickly, and see what you were able to comprehend from that paragraph. The first strategy to take your reading to the next level is to practice skimming versus scanning. Skimming versus scanning. These are 2 good reading strategies to use when you want to read very quickly without reading the whole passage, but just to get a general idea. So with skimming, we read quickly for the main idea. Main idea is what the passage or article or story is mostly about. Main idea is what the passage or article or story is mostly about. So when you are skimming, you are reading quickly for the main idea. This is good if you just want to preview something and see what it's going to be about without actually reading the whole thing or finding specific details. So some ways to do this are to read the title of the passage. This will help give you a good idea of what it is about. And if it has any headings, headings are nonfiction text features, and so you probably won't find them in fiction stories. Fiction stories mean they are not real. Nonfiction means it is real and gives true and gives facts and information. And so headings are those titles in the passage that help just further tell you what it is about. And then you could read the first and last sentences of the paragraphs you see. And this will just give you a good, quick idea of what the passage is mostly about, of what the main idea is. And then scanning is a little bit different. With scanning, you're looking for specific details. You might be looking for numbers, dates, specific facts, or specific pieces of information. And so you're looking for that quickly. And the way you scan is by moving your eyes fast without reading every word. So really you're just looking for those key words or those key details. This is good if you also want to know what the passage is about, but you want more information. If you're looking for something more specific, then you would be scanning, moving your eyes fast without reading every single word. The second strategy is vocabulary from context. This is understanding new words or words you don't know from the context of the sentence. And again, this is a strategy for all people who speak English or really any language. This is a good reading strategy to know and understand how to do for any new word that you do not know as you are reading. And so, this is what gaining new vocabulary from context means. Learn to guess a word's meaning using clues in the sentence. Using clues in the sentence. That is the context. What the sentence is about, what the sentence is talking about, other words you see in the sentence. You're using those clues to guess a word's meaning. So here is an example. She was elated at the good news. She was elated at the good news. So our new vocabulary word is this, elated. She was elated at the good news. So this may be a tricky word for you, could be a tricky word for a native English speaker as well. But we can use the clue good news to help us understand what this word means. She was elated at the good news. So we could, from context, from the clues in the sentence, we could guess that elated means happy because she received good news. So that can tell us that she was happy. Elated is even more than happy, very, very happy. But elated means extremely happy. And we know that because in the sentence it says good news. So some other ways to gain the new vocabulary from the context of the sentence is to look for synonyms and antonyms that you may see in the sentence. Synonyms are words that mean the same thing. So other synonyms of elated, happy, joyful, things like that. And antonyms. Antonyms are the opposite of that word. So some opposite words of elated would be depressed, sad, joyless, things like that. Another way to help gain context, break down root or affixes. So look at the word and see if breaking it down, taking off the affixes, which means prefix or suffixes. Here, this word has an ed on the end. That is the suffix ed, which makes it past tense. If you take that off, it would just be elate, which may not be more helpful, but it could be. And so sometimes it might be helpful to break down the root, to take off the prefixes, which come at the beginning of the word, or the suffixes at the end of the word. And then look if the word has a positive, negative, or neutral connotation. Is it positive, like elated is very positive, happy, joyful, it has a positive connotation. Or if it's negative, sad, depressed, if it has a more negative connotation. Or if it's just neutral. It's not positive or negative. The next strategy is how to understand author's tone and purpose. Author's tone and purpose. The author's tone is the way they are writing it, the emotion they want to come across as they are writing this piece, the emotion or the feeling they want the reader to have as they are reading it. And so a piece of writing could have a happy, excited tone. It could have a sad or depressed tone. It could have a more neutral, just factual tone. And so some ways that we find the author's tone is by looking at word choice. What types of words are they using? Are they more emotional or are they more neutral? And that will help you better understand the tone of the piece. Also look at the punctuation. Do they use exclamation marks? Because that gives excitement. Do they use a lot of question marks, which maybe wouldn't give so much excitement, but maybe more confusion, or they're wanting you, the reader, to really interact with the piece of writing? Or do they just use periods and then their word choice gives more of the tone? And then finally, look at the context of what is happening. When you read it, what is the context? What are those clues you see? What is it about? Who are the characters? What's happening to the characters? Is it informative? What information are they giving you? And that all has to do with the context of the piece of writing. And then it's important to be able to find the author's purpose. So some types of purpose or some types of reason why authors write something. Here are 4 main ones. The first is to inform. This one gives the reader information. So this would mostly be nonfiction pieces of writing where they give information, facts, details about a specific topic. And then there is persuade. Persuade is when an author is writing something in order to get a reader to think something differently or to do something differently. They are trying to get you to believe something or do something, and they are trying to persuade you. And then authors write to entertain. And this is when they write for you to just have fun with the story that you're reading. Most fiction books are for entertainment purposes. And then finally, to explain, to give an explanation of something. This would probably be like a recipe. They are explaining the recipe to you, how to do something. And so, or if you read like a manual and they give an explanation of how to put something together or how to do something, this is explanation. The next strategy is to make predictions while reading. Making predictions means that you guess what is coming next. It means you guess what is coming next. You can make predictions before, during, and after reading. Before reading, you can look at the title of the book, you can think about what the topic is, and then you could make a prediction about what the book will be about. And then while you're reading, you can make predictions about what will happen next. And then after reading, you can make predictions about what will come next after it is over. And so some ways to guess what is coming next, or some ways to make predictions, would be use what you already know about the topic. Use what you already know about the topic to predict what it will be about, to predict what will happen next, or what would continue happening. And then predict based on clues as you are reading. So as you are reading the passage or book or article, predict based on the clues that you already see. So predict as you are reading what will happen in the next paragraph or on the next page. And then finally, you can check if you are right. So before you read and while you read, you should be able to check if you are correct. After reading, you would have to maybe do some research, and especially with fiction, but we make predictions in order to help make our reading better. And finally, the most important thing here is that you build the habit of reading. You build the habit of practicing your English. So I have some tips for you to help build this habit. Something that you can do every day, 10 to 15 minutes every day, practicing reading in English. So the first thing is to choose topics you enjoy. If you don't want to read nonfiction, then read fiction in English, or vice versa, which means if you don't want to read fiction, then read nonfiction books or articles in English. Choose what you want to read and what you will be excited about. So, with that, for nonfiction or for news or facts or information, you can use English news sites, English news websites like BBC, the New York Times, National Geographic is also a really good one. You can use English news sites where you read about news happening in English-speaking countries or even around the world, of course. And for fiction, actually nonfiction too, you can use children's or young adult books. YA stands for young adult. These can be books, they will be short chapter books that will be probably between grades 5 through 8 for children's, and then young adult is like 8th through 10th grade, I would say, maybe 12th grade. But you can read these books because they will have a lower vocabulary, but still be really good practice. And the stories will be fun and entertaining. And then read out loud. When you read out loud, that will help your fluency. It will help you get faster, smoother, better at reading. And then finally, write one sentence summary a day. After you read something, keep a journal or a diary and just write down one sentence that summarizes what you just read about to help you remember. And finally, we have a worksheet for you in the description that goes along with this video to help practice all of these strategies that we talked about. I mentioned it at the beginning, but be sure to download it and practice. Practice reading, practice your fluency, practice predicting, practice comprehension. Comprehension means that you understood what you read. And so practice all of these skills and take your English to the next level.